Welcome to the Rusted Garden Homestead. Today is the first video, although it's still December 2021, this is the first video for 2022. And it's about seed starting. Specifically, when do you start seeds indoors? Why do you start seeds indoors? So let's just start with that. If you're in an area where you get freezing temperatures, colder winters, you want to start seeds indoors to get a jump on the season. You can get them growing inside, save yourself 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks of time, get them into the ground at the right period, and those seeds, those plants take off. And it's a way to really sort of extend your season. By starting earlier, you're able to grow mature plants through the summer and you get a harvest. Now, when do you start seeds indoors? That's going to vary based on a couple of things. Whether or not you're starting cool crops, whether or not you're starting warm crops. And I wrote it all down here. I will go over this because there's no exact time for you to start seeds indoors. It varies garden to garden, state to state, country to country. So, how do you figure it out? Now, if you follow me for 2022, I'll be going over seed starting for the different flowers you see right here, for vegetables, for fruits, for all kinds of plants. But generally speaking, you go to the internet and you look up historic weather patterns or historic weather charts or historic weather. It doesn't matter. You'll be able to find it. Just do historic weather. Go to, so here's the close-up so it's a little bit easier to read. And I just want to clarify, I picked the date of March 15th and then I look 2 weeks ahead of that, 2 weeks behind that for a 30-day period, and I generally, figure out that that looks like it meets the night temperatures and the day temperatures on average over that 4-week period. So I picked May 15th, 2 weeks ahead, 2 weeks behind, and it looks like that's a perfect time for my warm crops. In my case, I went to May 15th, looked at the weather, day temperatures, night temperatures. These are night temperatures right here. These are day temperatures. Looked for them to be 50 to 60 degree average nights, 70 to 80 degree average days. In Celsius, it's 10 to 15 degrees Celsius for nights, 21 to 27 Celsius for the days. That gives you an idea of what that month looks like. And for me, in Maryland Zone 7, May 15th gets pretty close to these 50 to 60 degree nights, 70 to 80 degree days. That's what the warm weather crops like to be planted into. And then I step back to about April. I'm looking at April 7th. These are cool crops too, and that really means you can plant seeds then or you can plant transplants then. So around April 7th, going forward, the temperatures are 40 to 50 degree nights, 5 to 10 degrees Celsius, 60 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit during the day, 15 to 21 degrees Celsius during the day. This is a good time with the warmer night temperatures, warmer soil temperatures, to plant seeds of your cool weather crops, or you could put transplants in. If you want to go back another month, 30 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit nights, 50 to 60 degree Fahrenheit days, Celsius 0 to 5 nights, 10 to 15 degrees days. This is when I would put transplants in, because if I put seeds in with the temperatures at night being 30 to 40 degrees, they're really not going to germinate. They're just going to sit there through March into April until the night temperatures start to warm up, the soil warms up. So, soil temperature matters. These are the day temperatures or night temperatures. But when the temperatures start getting 40, 50 at night, 60, 70 in the day, rain comes, that rain begins to warm the soil, and this is a close approximation of what the soil temperatures are also like. This gives me my template for starting my seeds indoors. So March 7th, any cool weather crop that I want to grow for 4 weeks indoors, I count back, basically to February 7th. If I want to do 6 weeks, I would go to February 7th, 2 more weeks back, which is about January 21st. Same thing for April. If I wanted to get plants out on April 7th, I want to give them about 4 weeks indoors, I would go back to March 7th. And then for May 15th, I want the warm weather crops to come out. So tomatoes, say I want to have 8 weeks worth of growth. I go back to from May 15th to April 15th to March 15th. And on March 15th, that's when I would start my tomato plants indoors. This is the basic template for setting up when to start seeds indoors. This is going to vary, May, April, and March, based on your area. So, go to that historic map for weather and then figure out, generally speaking, when is that period of time meeting these temperatures, 50 to 60 Fahrenheit, 10 to 15 Celsius. Now, warm crops don't like frost, so your warm crop date has to be past the frost date. Your cool weather crops can take a frost and a freeze, so they're perfectly fine, getting nights that might slip into the 20s sometimes, or, even when you're at April 7th, sometimes I'll still get a 32-degree night. Cool crops can take a frost. Let's pause there for a second. So you're going to have to do a little research, figure out the dates where you're not going to have frost for your warm crops, and then, same thing for April and March to understand the temperatures for getting your cool crops out or starting seed. Now, if you're in an area that it's really warm 10 months of a year, you don't have to start seeds indoors. But again, starting seeds indoors gives you a jump on the season. It's also nice to start them indoors because you can kind of control the space all your seedlings are in, and you don't have them spread out through your garden. So the next question I get is, well, when would I start, Shasta daisies indoors? I understand they're a cool weather crop. These are a perennial flower. I would just use the seed pack. It's going to tell you a lot of times. Most of the times it'll say 4 weeks before last frost, 6 weeks before last frost. This one, if you can see it right above my thumb, says 6 to 8 weeks. That's a good guideline. So if I want them to go out because they can really take that frost March 7th, I would just count back 8 weeks, and that's when I would start the Shasta daisies indoors. I also want to mention Bentley seeds. We are associated with them. We sell these on our seed shop in bulk deals, but if you're looking for single packs and you want more variety than we sell at our shop, please check out Bentley seeds, and I will put that information in the video description. So the backs of the pack will give you some information of when you would start these indoors. You may find, let's see if I can find it here. Misplaced it. Oh, here it is. These are Cosmos Sensations. I love growing Cosmos. And when you flip it over, it says right here, sprinkle seeds over soil. So these would really not need to be started indoors if you don't want to do that. They would go out when it's warm because they can't take a frost. And they could be sprinkled in May 15th in my area, and they're just going to do their thing. Sometimes I start these as seeds in the basic flats, and I sell all this at my seed shop. But I would keep these outside. I put them sort of on the north side of the house where they're going to get morning sun, but they're not going to be baked. And I just start growing them right in these containers outside. They get the sun, they get acclimated to the sun. And then it's just easier for me to pop in mature plants into the different areas in my garden. Unless I'm doing like a wildflower garden, then I will just sprinkle seeds around. But this is the basic way to really figure out when to get things started indoors. These are the main dates. I just want to stress again. Warm crops, when you're at these temperatures and frost is not an issue. Cool crop 2 is really for, and even maybe like lettuces seem to do better when it's a little bit warmer. Spinach and kale does better, up here at number 1, but can also go out at cool crops number 2 at these different times. It's good to vary. However, just want to be clear, cool crops 2 is really a great time to put seeds of the cool crops into the ground or your transplants. And for me, March 7th is a really good time to put out transplants, because if I drop seeds, these temperatures, 30 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit at night, are just too cool, and those seeds are just going to sit till here. Again, hope it makes sense. This is really important because you don't want to start all your seeds with different needs at the same time, say January 15th. You're going to have to kind of figure out what seed you would start January 15th. They may be perennial flowers, perennial herbs, and then what plants need to be started in February. They could be your cool weather crops. And then what plants need to be started in March. They may be your warm weather plants like tomatoes and peppers. And then for warm weather crops that only should be growing about 3 weeks indoors, you might start, I don't know, your squash, cucumbers, zucchini towards the end of April so that they're not sitting in those little cells for 6 or 8 weeks. All right, so we are going to jump into 2022 with seed starting. Save yourself some money, grow some cool varieties you can't find at the big box stores or at nurseries. Have fun with it, and we'll be planting up pretty soon. I've got all my prop plants going now. There's nothing I'm growing in Maryland Zone 7 that needs to be started at the end of December, but I am growing a lot of plants for props so that I can show them in videos. Thanks for watching, and please check out my seed shop at therustedgarden.com, and also check out Bentley Seeds. Wonderful company, all kinds of different varieties in a single pack that we don't have at our shop.